What is up, everyone? This is Moises Mendoza back with another episode of Local Lens. Today, I have the one, the only Will Sarmiento. Will, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Now that I'm with you, man. We're doing amazing here.
Appreciate that. So, Will, I could do an introduction for you, but I feel like that's not going to do it justice. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, for sure. So, my name's Will. I'm videographer for Sarmiento Media, the one and only owner. Everything. I basically do everything myself. But yeah, I'm a wedding filmmaker. Do a lot of destination wedding films. Very hype, very edgy. Based out of DC, and yeah, I'm just honored to be here today with you, man.
Appreciate that. Based out of DC, but you're pretty much worldwide at this point.
Pretty much everywhere. Pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. So, I just kind of want to jump into how did you get into wedding videography? Like, what were your influences into videography in general?
Yeah, man. So wedding videography in general, I think breaking it down into a two-part question, really, the main the main drive to get into video in general goes back to when I was in college. I never had any idea that I was going to be doing filmmaking, let alone wedding filmmaking. When I went to college for engineering, we can get into that later. But I think the main driver to it was when I was in college, the GoPros were coming out. And I remember buying like the first ever GoPro, or maybe it was like the second GoPro, whatever it was. Their whole marketing campaign got me. I was like, oh,
Oh,
look
how
at these
hype it was.
people like
Yeah.
skiing and throwing themselves off of mountains and stuff like that. I didn't ski. I didn't snowboard. I grew up in Miami, man. I was like, why am I even buying this thing? But what compelled me was the hype, the videos, like the energy behind it. So I bought one, and then that led to another. I like me just recording videos in my college, editing, put it together, and I think I fell in love with the editing process there.
Mm.
As I started kind of like putting together videos and edits for my fraternity, sororities on campus, organizations on campus, and then that kind of like the dominoes just fell from there. When I graduated from college, one of my colleagues that I was working with at my 9 to 5, he was getting married. His name was David. I was like, David, let me just shoot your wedding for free. I'm just getting started into this. Haven't shot a wedding before,
Free to
and I
fee.
think that's how it all kind of just like
Yeah.
panned out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So never really thought that I was gonna get into filmmaking, but I think I just fell in love with the editing.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah, you don't hear that a lot that people actually fall in love with the editing as opposed to the shooting. I think
Yeah.
that's something that's pretty unique, honestly.
Yeah, no, it was cool. The process behind it and seeing how people reacted to it, I fell in love with the process with it. Like I could spend hours editing, and it was just kind of like, oh, it's nighttime now, and I started in the morning. Like, oh wow. So I think at that point I knew I was kind of into it.
So, talking about your editing style, it's definitely something that's very different from what I've seen before. And I think it's honestly something that's really made you stand out. Do you kind of want to talk to about your approach and your style for editing?
Yeah, yeah. So, oh man, my approach to editing. So jumping on that board of like kind of like that idea of when I was in college and I was shooting for different organizations, fraternities, sororities. I always kind of like it's funny because I always stray from the fact that I was in a fraternity, but like that's who I am. That's
Yeah,
like
that's
me.
part of it's part of it.
It's part of it, yeah. But when I was in my fraternity, I remember creating a video. We would all go out to a lake to go like canoeing. We would like drink some beers, all that kind of stuff. So I remember making a quick video for that, and again, the hype, the energy, everything was surrounded or like motivated by the energy behind the event, right?
Mhm,
That's who I am. That's what I like to portray in a lot of my wedding videos. It comes
mhm,
through, especially in the dancing portions,
mhm,
the celebrations. Um, but I think what a lot of people don't realize about me is that the reason that I'm all up energetic and I love that celebration aspect is because of my cultural influences. My family's from Colombia, and in my household growing up, we would celebrate everything. Anything and everything. Like we would get home early. Oh, let's dance. Like, oh, every single opportunity we could get to like dance or enjoy, we would do so. So I come from a very energetic family, and that easily passed on to me. So I think from the get go, I was always into that whole, celebration, aspect, the party. And I wanted that to come through first and foremost in my films because I just enjoyed that.
yeah.
So I think that helped play a lot in why my editing style is so upbeat and hype and edgy because an extension of me per
Yeah,
se.
and I think I can relate to that. I think, having a Latino, Hispanic background, I'm Mexican American, and my family was always the same way. It's just like you play that salsa when you get home, you play that
Dude, yes.
bachata. It's just like anytime your parents are just ready to go. I mean, like Christmases, we're staying up till midnight partying, just having a good time. And it's just good vibes the whole time.
Dude, I remember I would when you bring that up, like obviously Christmas parties were always at my house, New Year's party always at my
Yep.
house, and
Yep.
like my white friends
Yes. Yes.
didn't have anything to do, so I would invite them over like on New Year's because it's like they didn't really do much, and like I would invite them over like, yeah, I get here like at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. They would get there like at 7:30. I'm like, I'm not even ready. Like nobody's
Yeah.
ready here.
Yeah.
Like
If we
so,
say 8, we actually mean like come at
yeah.
9.
But no, they would have a great time. We would stay up to like 2, 3, just partying, dancing, celebrating. So that culture, like you said, it's just ingrained in us. So I think that's kind of like why I wanted to emphasize that in my films a lot too.
That's awesome. So talking about your family, you're pretty successful already in what you do, and I think you have some other successful family members. You want to talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, no. So I mean, doing your research, of course. Me and my sister, she's older. Her name's Nancy, a year and a half, or just a year and a half, 2 years older than me. But yeah, so shout out to Nancy. She's a doctor now. She lives in Columbia, South Carolina, with her husband, and she just has killed it in every aspect of her life too. I mean, definitely having, um, not more so her there because I don't think we're like competitive in
Yeah.
that nature. We've never like kind of like butted heads to head in that way. But I think from an early age and growing up and through elementary, middle school, parents were a huge influence for both of us, and they taught us three things really. One, um, pursue what you're passionate about, right?
That's awesome.
Don't let money get in the way of that.
Mm,
Um, Discipline, a lot of discipline, especially from my dad's side. He knew kind of like from his life, he knew where he wanted to go. So he kind of like instilled that in us too and reminded us every day of that. And I think the third one there was from my mom. She always taught us to like look at the glass half full basically. She's a radiant light, just like
that's awesome.
think of my energy, double it. She's just always thinking of the positive outlook, like things can be going terribly, and she's just smiling, always looking at everyone from like the positive side.
Mm,
So I think the combination of them two there, having my dad be that disciplined figure, my mom there be that light, it just inspired us both to pursue things and not, you know, keep our hopes up in a way.
yeah, and I think that first thing that you said, that first value. I think a lot of people in this industry kind of forget that your first few years, you might not make a ton of money. You might just be scraping by, you might just be breaking even, but you will get to a point where you are profitable and you are able to. But at the end of the day, you're doing what you love. You don't feel like I don't ever feel like I'm working. I love what I do every single day in, day out because I never know what every day is going to look like.
Absolutely. And I'm probably gonna screw it up. So just, stick with me here. There's like chart or like combination thing I saw like when I first stepped into video when I was quitting my 9 to 5 to get into this. And it's like three things, right? When you're doing a job, right? You're either really good at it, you really like it, and you make money off of it or not, right? So it's very hard to have all three things, right? So like being good at something, making a lot of money, and being passionate about it, it's extremely rare
Mm,
to have all those three things. Usually, it's just sorry, I hit the mic there. Usually, it's just two of the three things.
mm,
Sometimes people are really good at something, they make a lot of money at it, but they don't like it.
yeah, and they're miserable.
Or they don't make a lot of money on it, but they're really good at it and they're passionate about it, right?
Mm,
So it's always that balance. But if you are able to attain those three things, which again, it's very rare, you need to hold on to that thing and literally tackle it head on
yeah.
because that's extremely rare.
Yeah, and speaking of leaving that 9 to 5, I think someone that you were mentoring, Miranda, just actually left her 9 to 5 to go
Dude,
full
shout out
time.
to Miranda. Yeah, huge. That's inspiring. I remember taking that leap too, and she was working for it. Like she. I remember her telling me like that is my goal. Like
Yeah,
why I want to quit my 9 to 5, and like first of all for her, shout out to her. Like that's amazing. And Miranda, you can always tell. I mean, from how she is, like how you met her and like
yeah,
you've seen her film and you've seen her
mhm,
record. Like she is super determined, super focused on getting the shot she wants and how she wants it. So I know she's gonna go far for sure. When I personally went full time, I didn't know that I was going to go full time to filmmaking. I think I always just said it was my hobby, and then I think within like a year that it just all accelerated so much. It got to a point where I was like, this is actually crazy because it's actually starting to make sense, me going full time. So
Yeah.
excuse me. But yeah.
That's crazy. So, your degree, it's in engineering, which I think are like, in a way, two sides of the spectrum of what you're doing there. And in a way, I would say that some of your stuff is really technical and your shot composers and stuff like that. But can you talk about the differences and how flexible and freeing the videography is to how like technical and precise the engineering stuff was for you, and why you decided to like go?
Yeah, it's wild because well, thank you for the compliment on the composition and everything. I mean, I definitely my approach to filmmaking has always, like I said, been one of the celebration, the aspect. But I'm not gonna cater if I just say that I just throw things in there, right? Like I think everybody's approach that is different.
Hmm.
And from the analytical standpoint of my engineering degree, um, it's a double-edged sword because I wouldn't say I'm the most creative person ever. I'm not
Hmm.
at all. There's a ton of other creative people out there, way more creative than me. Um, but I think definitely having that engineering background and that analytical mind helps me to kind of think things through a little bit clearly, right? Like you said, like we were having a conversation before we started this, but you said, you do everything with a calculated approach.
Hmm.
And I think I'm the same way. Before I take action, I'll think through the decisions, the repercussions of it possible, and I'll do that silently in my head for like 3 days before I actually take the action. But everything I do, I think about it meticulously, business wise, marketing wise, everything. I double down and I really think to what I want that next step to be and how it's going to affect the next 10 steps. And I think that just comes from me being very like 2 plus 2 is 4, very like
Yeah.
I'm a very practical person.
And I think a lot of people in the industry may not think that way when they're first getting started because you have to worry about when's the next check coming, when's my next wedding going to be booked and stuff like that. And I understand that, but you should also think, well, if I do this wedding for a reduced rate, but I know it's going to be a huge portfolio for me, is it going to be worth it? Can I book 10 more weddings? And I think people need to think about that. I mean, we call those like loss leaders in a certain way, but like a lot of people don't need to really think in those terms. It's like profit is very important, making money is very important, but you have to be strategic about what opportunities are there for you as well.
Absolutely. And like you of all people know this. I mean, you've obviously built your wedding company, your commercial company, everything. So I mean, you have an understanding of, profit, revenue, all that kind of stuff. But I think uh when it comes to like by no means when I started filming, when I did my first wedding for that first client that I mentioned, David, for free,
Mhm.
in no way was I thinking like in that moment I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, I can do this one for free and then charge for the next one. No, I literally in that moment, because I still had my 9 to 5 job and everything, I
Yeah.
was like, I just want to do this because I think it'd be fun.
Mhm.
Like for me, passion is what should get you into the door and like make you explore it. Um, because there's when I used to live with my old roommate, his name was Harrison. He's out in Atlanta now. I remember we were talking about kind of like what defines a passion and what defines something that makes you get up every day and like makes you pursue it, right? Like you just get up off your feet. And his take on it was actually interesting because we were talking one day and he said, I don't think a passion is just truly what you love. It's about the shit that you're willing to put up with.
Mhm.
Because you could have a clear vision and goal for your company, but you have to do this and
Yep.
fill out that form and travel an hour and a half to get to
Mhm.
to to, to West Virginia, right? But all that stuff you're looking at is like, oh, I have to do that. But like, it's just kind of like a next step for you
Yeah.
to get to that final end goal because you're passionate about what that last step is. If you weren't passionate about it, you would get up and be like, oh, an hour and a half drive here to talk to this client. I don't want to do that. Like
Mhm.
that's nothing motivates you to get there. So it's about, I love his take on it. It's about the shit that you're willing to put up with.
Yeah, and that's true. And when you as you grow, it's gonna be more and more that happen, and eventually you're gonna get to a point where you can't do it all, and you have to kind of put it on other people's shoulders.
Yeah, dude.
So, and that's such an interesting fact too. So, because like I often get asked like, "Well, what's your end goal with all of this company that you're doing and the employees you're bringing on and all that?" I'm just like, "I don't know. I just like I didn't think I'd be here." I was like, "I just started it and it's just kind of grown way quicker than I thought it would." But it's at the end of the day, I'm very passionate and I
Dude,
love what I
kudos to
do.
you, man. You
Appreciate
have
that,
you
man.
have built something awesome here, man, and it's cool seeing. I mean, obviously, we're not in your studio here. I have to still go check out your studio, but again, putting together a team and
Yeah.
a company and huge that's all huge and something that a lot of people don't do because it terrifies them. So
Yeah,
kudos,
for
man.
sure. So what's in the future for you? What do you have going on?
Right now, here, man, not really. Just taking it. I think I think within any like you said, within any entrepreneurship journey, right? Creative journey, and I say entrepreneurial, right? Is that how you pronounce
I
it?
think so, but
Entre-
don't look at me. I'm the
entrepreneur.
worst with English. I'll say in Spanish maybe.
uh, um, you have to take it day by day, month by month, have that clear vision, the
Mhm.
short term, long term goals, but you have to be flexible to pivot. That's something that I'm personally trying to work on because, like I said, I'm a very practical person. I like, as much as I like the unexpected, I like to have a sense of routine as well. That's critical to my well being. So, being in an industry that fluctuates so much, that changes so much, it's definitely like I am not meant to be an entrepreneur at all. Like I am not meant to have my own business. I know I am, but again, what drives me is my passion to it, and
Mm,
that's what's made me successful in it. Um, but I can't tell you how many times I'll wake up and be like, "Oh man, like I start thinking about 12 months from now where I'm going to be." Like that's terrifying to think about in itself too. But I think again, page out of my mom's book. You can't look at things from a negative output. You have to
yeah.
always have the positive outlook in life, spread that energy, spread that joy. So, yeah, I'm taking things month by month, week by week, editing weddings, making couples happy, taking on a few new endeavors on the commercial side as well, to complement some of that wedding work because it does get you out of that creativity zone, gives you
Mhm.
kind of like a different creative half of your brain to like think
Yeah.
about when you're working with different commercial projects too. So I'm excited about those in the coming months. And then Colombia that you're going to too
Let's
for the
go.
Amar
Let's
workshop.
go.
Amar workshop. Amar workshop.
When is the EMR workshop? Shameless
it,
plug.
it's shameless plug. Dude, it is September 23rd to the 26th, and thank you. For one, I know that you're going to it, so we're stoked to have you there. But yeah, 4 days in Cartagena, Colombia this year. It was crazy because it got with this was an idea between myself and my co-hosts, which are William and Martha. Together collectively, they form Los Mauis. They're one of the most well-known filmmakers in Colombia,
Okay.
and their work is amazing. They take on an insane amount of weddings a year, like I think close to like 30 or 40 around there. And they are good friends of mine. I met them during COVID actually because he filmed a wedding that I had in Colombia for me because I couldn't
Mm.
travel to
Oh,
Colombia
yeah.
during COVID. Yeah, it was crazy. But essentially, um, I had brought up the idea to him, and then it just kind of like always like floated around. And then like 2 years later, I actually said like, "Hey, I've been really thinking about this like whole workshop thing," and he's like, "Dude, like." I wanted to do a workshop 2 years ago. It never came to fruition. I just didn't have the people around me to like make it happen. If you want to do something like this, like let's do it. And this was like about a year ago. So it took a lot of coordination, a lot of logistics, me traveling there. We went to Cartagena. We like talked to the hotels, the resorts. Like we are when I tell you like these 4 days, like you're gonna indulge in absolute what we consider luxury in Colombia.
Wow.
That's exactly what it's gonna be because we could have easily made this thing, like insanely cheap to go to, but we knew like, hey, let's really stretch our money here because we can, and let's give the people that come to this like not only top-notch education from
Yeah.
Bottle Brush, Allison, Gioni, like these are incredible filmmakers that are literally traveling from Europe, Australia, LA, to come to Cartagena, but like that in itself is worth the cost. But on top of that, we're staying at 5-star resorts. Like it's gonna be insane. It's gonna
That's gonna
be
be crazy.
amazing, and I'm super excited. I'm super pumped for everyone that's going. But yeah, man, I'm just stoked for it.
So in terms of like the style shoots and stuff that are happening, can you kind of talk to us a little bit about where we're gonna be, the settings and stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. So the first out shoe is going to be on the second day. So it's going to be within, it's called the Old City of Cartagena. Quintessential, you pull a picture of Cartagena and you see these beautiful colored corners, houses, architecture, insane greens everywhere. Colors really pop in this old city. So that first out shoot is going to be focused on that high energy pacing of a city, right? We're going to have two couples for each shoe. One of the couples is always going to be a little bit more editorial to give you guys some of that
Nice,
more stoic shots, but the other one we're going to make sure that they're fluid, movement, lots of motion,
nice.
and just happy-go-lucky couples because again, energy, the vibes.
Hmm.
Like we know a lot of people coming to this workshop are looking to capture those
Something
high
different
energy
that
vibes
they've
as well.
never captured before.
Exactly, not like the quintessential the bright standing, which are gorgeous shots. Those are each of their own like has their like each style shoot has their own what the word I'm looking for, their own glamour to it, I guess.
Yeah,
In this case scenario, we want to really emphasize that colorful pop, fun,
yeah,
like I don't give a fuck kind of attitude
yeah.
to one of the couples. And then similar, the third day of the workshop, we're going out to a resort. That's called Sofitel Baru. It's on the island of Baru, which is off the mainland of Cartagena, and we're traveling there. It's about, we still don't know if we're taking the bus there or if we're taking a boat there.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, we're hoping for the boat. We're just trying to coordinate with we obviously we know people are gonna have equipment, so we just want to make sure it's secure in the boat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're traveling to Baru and we're spending the entire day there. We're having two speakers talk there at the resort, and then we're having a style shoot on the beach. So again, two couples, one a little more editorial, but the other one is going to be a little bit more lively. So it's going to give you guys two dichotomies there, or I don't know if that's the right word or not, but two basically environments for you guys can capture that city vibe and then also that tropical vibe as well.
And I think for people's portfolios, this will be something completely new that not a lot of people have shot anything like this.
Dude, I think in general, if you want to get into destination work, if you want
Yeah.
to just show off two completely different locations with four different couples, I think it's the content you're gonna. I mean, every single aspect of this workshop, we have planned it out to a T because we know we just wanted people to walk away with this knowing like I would I would pay twice the amount to go to this again. Like that's what we want people to know after they leave this workshop.
So we're just thinking future workshops, right? If this
Oh
one goes well,
man. Oh,
put that
man.
pressure on you already. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being on here. I think it's really inspiring for me to see kind of your style and philosophy to everything because I think one of the things that really stood out to me was you said something at the Runaway Vows workshop where like if couples come to you, they're coming to you for your style, for your how you talk, like just your whole vibe and everything like that. And I think that is something that I always restricted and held back because I was afraid to be myself. Like at weddings, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pin over here, do a really good job, but not really show my personality. And I think after seeing kind of how you did, we've definitely changed a lot of how we approach weddings and actually be there on the day of.
Dude, I appreciate that, man. I mean, definitely means a lot hearing you say that. So thank you. I mean, it's um one of the last things I want to say is, and because it helped me a lot, and I think who did I hear? It was a few years back. I think it was David from Forestry Films.
Mm,
Um, he was on it was on his podcast, I think, and he said, I'll never forget it because it stuck with me to this day. He said, "Make the films that you would want to see if you were getting married, right?" And I think that should drive everything for you, the style, the editing. Like if you were getting married, what would you want to see in your film? And that's what you should focus on because that's what you enjoy, that's what you like.
mhm.
And yeah, don't overthink it. Just have fun with it. Get creative.
That's cool. Well, you got anything else you want to say to the people?
No, that's it, dude. Dude, again, thank you for having me here. I'm honored to be sitting across the table from you and just man, yeah, just happy to be here, dude. That's it.
Appreciate that. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. That is officially a wrap. Thank you. We'll see you next time.